Welcome once again, everybody. Blockbuster Mentality is the show you are listening to. I'm your host, Ben. Before we get started, as always, subscribe to us on iTunes, rate, review us. We'd really appreciate it. We're climbing up those charts and want to continue to do so. You are all helping out a lot. Have another great conversation today with Sarah Colonna, stand-up comedian, actor. Yeah, she was a great person to talk with. Very funny. And the topic of discussion, once we got through talking with her about her career and whatnot, was the 1981 comedy Arthur, starring Dudley Moore, Liza Minnelli. Great comedy from the 80s, early 80s. And me and Dave talk with her about that, get deep into it. And it's, a lot of laughs, a lot of quoting. But we had a great time with Sarah. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at BlockbusterCast. You can follow us on Instagram at Blockbuster Mentality. That is where all the show updates will be, when new shows come out, when, future potential guests are coming, things of that nature. But without any further ado, here is our conversation with the talented and hilarious Sarah Colonna.
On my end, just before we started, I noticed I could see my wife's dresses hanging up on the hook behind me, so I got up there, and I don't want anybody to think they're mine or anything. So.
I told him he should leave them.
Just leave them there and make people wonder. Why not?
Yeah, it's true. A little bit of mystery.
There you go. You said you're going to San Diego, I think you said, for a gig?
Irvine,
same thing.
Yeah, the Irvine Improv. So I'm doing shows there all weekend with Chelsea Handler.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it should be fun. I haven't performed with her in years, so she was like, "Hey, come down," and I was like, "Great, sure, yeah, it should be fun." So
nice. I just got to talk to these guys real quick first, and then I'll head on my way.
Well, I wasn't sure. Like, I guess we're leaving around 5, so I probably had more time. But then I thought, but I wasn't sure with like Memorial Day.
Yeah,
and God knows.
yeah.
Right? It's 2 hours away, but it could be 3.
Yeah. Did
exactly.
you start with what was the first thing you started? Was it stand up? Was it writing? Was it acting?
I started with stand up as far as like getting work. But I studied acting in college, and then stand up. When I moved out here, I figured out that stand up was like a good way to do your own thing, because everyone's trying to do the same thing. So in college, there was no a comedy club or anything in Arkansas at the time, and not in Fayetteville, like where I was going to school. So I didn't get to try stand up until I moved to LA, which is a weird place to start it. But
was that something you wanted to do before acting ever? Like
I did. Yeah. No, I always wanted to do it. I just didn't have my family was, their response was, but where? I mean, there's no place to do it. And I was like, I don't know. I guess when I move, I'll find a place to do it. Like,
Well, yeah.
And, so I kind of fumbled around through open mics out here for years.
Yeah. Well, because I see you're from Arkansas. Is that correct? And
yeah, I grew up there.
Yeah, and not much of a comedy scene there, I would assume.
No, I mean, now there's a couple places now, and I've gone back and performed at the University of Arkansas where I graduated and done stuff like that. But yeah, at the time in the mid 90s and late 90s, there was nothing.
Yeah, I'm sure.
There was a theater department, but there was no place to perform stand up.
It's funny. I'm curious what your start. I'll ask the question. My daughter, she's 6, and she loves telling jokes and everything. Like, she's hilarious. And I got a mic system to do like karaoke and stuff, and we were gonna sing and stuff. But the first thing she asked, she's like, "Oh, we're getting a mic and stuff, so I can tell jokes and stuff." And I was like, "Wow, okay." So I think,
oh wow, she got the bug early. Yeah.
I know. That's it was very strange. So I mean, were you? When did you know you were funny like that and wanted to do stuff like that?
It was more of I think mine was more writing related, because I liked writing down my own jokes, or thoughts or ideas that I would thought would be fun to tell on stage when I finally got on there one day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of more like, I don't know that I guess my friends always thought I was funny and whatnot, but I don't know if it was more like I was probably more reserved in that sense. And it was more like my writing that I wanted to get out on stage.
I haven't I haven't told my daughter she's not funny. I just, I'm waiting till she's a little older to understand. But
yeah, you're like, listen, I'll be honest with you. That one didn't work, honey. Yeah,
exactly.
Just crushing dreams left and right. Yeah, great.
Yeah,
I love it.
Exactly.
The timing is terrible.
Worst timing ever. So how did you, when did you and Chelsea Handler start to get close? Because I know you were a writer on her show for a long time. How did that start?
Honestly, we started, she was one of the first people I met at an improv class. And when I first moved out here, and here being Los Angeles, and we met in this improv class, and neither of us were very good at improv, like the games. And it's such a different world. I think people think it's similar to stand up, but it's really not. And but I was just doing it for trying to get sort of audition techniques down and be better on my feet for things. And we would talk and hang out and go to happy hour, and we both wanted to do stand up, and she did it first. I think she did a show at the an open mic at the Laugh Factory. And then that got me motivated to do the same thing. And then we kind of stumbled around through open mics for a long time together. So I've actually really known her for a really long time. And then when she got her show, at first they were having comedians on, but they were having, pretty bigger names than I was at the time. And then they would have like an Us Weekly reporter and a random celebrity. And then eventually they went, oh, this works so much better if it's just all comedians. So that's kind of when people that she had known for a long time and all these comics that she knew got a chance to really come on the panel, because there was more seats available, and E was more open to trying people that they hadn't ever seen before. And that's all she could do was get you, put your name in the hat. And then it was up to you to not suck once you got on. And I think it was the most nervous I've ever been, probably, because I was like, this is my friend's show. If I bomb, she has to be like, you bombed and you can't come back. So luckily I didn't. And I ended up becoming a regular. And then eventually they hired me to write. So it was really fun. Yeah.
That's great.
That's what I'll say to my daughter if she comes onto the podcast and just bombs. You bombed. And,
listen, you just go, I can't do anything to help you. I just have to be honest with you. You bombed. Yeah.
Exactly. Because this podcast is as big as the Chelsea Handler show. Go ahead. You were saying something, Dave?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about your work on Shameless, because as soon as I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I remember. It was just maybe if you could speak to what it's like working with, because the show it's
iconic,
becoming more of like almost like a live action cartoon is kind of how I would describe it. How crazy it is and wacky, and I remember your character was so creepy on Carl, and it was just hilarious. So what was it like working with that cast and crew?
It was so fun. I was very intimidated because I'd watched the show and I was a big fan of it, and then to walk into I got cast in the 9th and 10th season, so it was like, oh, season 9, I'm all of a sudden working with these people who have worked together forever, and I was very nervous. But they were awesome, really welcoming. And I all my scenes were with Carl, and but I did do all the table reads, and I met all of them, and I was like just sitting, William H. Macy's laughing at my lines, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is crazy. But I was definitely nervous to play such a creepy lady towards a poor 19-year-old kid. And he helped me a lot, because I was like, I'd have to pat him on the ass and say awful stuff to him. And he was just like, Sarah, I've been on this show for 9 years. Like, don't worry about it.
You have no idea what I've seen over the years.
He's like, I've seen it all. You're not don't worry about it. I was like, okay. So it was super fun, but I've seen a couple things where they were like, the character we hate the most, Lori, because she, messed with Carl, our baby. Like, fans are so not mean to me, but just like joking about how they like couldn't believe that someone would handle sweet baby Carl in that manner. And, so
that's a credit to you, to get that kind of reaction.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, I did my job well. I was not supposed to be someone that everyone was rooting for to hit on a child. No, not a child. He's a teenager. He was 19. Let's be clear. Yeah. No, but it was.
I think in Arkansas, the laws are different in Arkansas.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think one of my favorite lines, though, they gave me was I said something about, they just had some great one-liners. I think it was in season 10 when they brought me back, which was really cool. And they said it was something about that I wanted to be a teacher, but cocaine tasted so good. I did that instead. And I was like, that's my favorite line that's ever come out of my mouth on a TV show. I'll take that forever.
Yes.
That's awesome. What,
yeah.
What can you, is this a thing? The IMDb, according to IMDb, it seems like you're going in another direction right now. The Undertaker's Wife? What's this? What?
It's an independent film that this guy I met when I was shooting Insatiable, which was a Netflix show. I was shooting that in Atlanta, and this guy that I met, Chad Darnell, who's this great writer, and he was in LA, and he said, I'm doing my show and I'm doing this movie, and it was like a horror film, and I played I played a lady in a morgue, and it was super fun and weird and a very different role for me. It was definitely something I hadn't done before, so it was cool.
Yeah, that's because I saw that, I was like, that doesn't seem like something she would typically be in, but
I know, and that's what was kind of fun about it, getting to do something different. And my mom actually works at a funeral home, so I felt like I really had.
So you could kind of go method, with it. You could work at the, a little bit with the work at the funeral home, see what the real life is like, and
exactly.
Like Robert De Niro.
Yeah, and I think, and Chad knew that too. I think that she worked there, and so he was like, "This is even more reason why you should do this role." So
there you go.
It was fun. I didn't really get to be on the set when they did all the horror type stuff, which I was kind of bummed about. I've always wondered what it would be like to be in a horror movie, and would I be scared, or would stuff freak me out because I'm kind of a wimp. But I didn't actually have to. I wasn't on set for any of that fun.
That's something I want to see as a blooper reel for a horror movie. There's got to be some out there. That's got to be a thing.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Actually,
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. They are crazy that they don't do those for each horror movie. Just actors actually being scared shitless. Yeah,
right.
I would love that.
I have to ask, what can you tell us about Butt Whistle? I see that as one of your credits. I'm not familiar with this one.
Honestly, that was not the name of it when I did it. And I still have never seen it, but someone randomly told me that they saw it, and I was like, great, I guess it's out there. But the name was completely different, and I don't remember what it was. But one day I looked on IMDb, and I was like, I was in Butt Whistle? And then I realized that it was, and I wish I could remember what the name of the movie was before it randomly became Butt Whistle. But yeah, Butt Whistle. So
they destroyed it all. They destroyed all evidence of what it used to be called.
I know. So. I really wish I could remember. And I wish it was on there, formerly known as, but apparently that didn't happen. So yeah, listen, I have a very extensive, odd resume. Apparently, I kind of forgot. You guys are bringing them up. It's really making me happy.
Leave it up to Dave to bring up Butt Whistle.
Well, I would too if I saw that on someone's. I'd be like, hey, listen, we got to talk about this.
But so obviously you're been doing gigs and everything. How has the pandemic affected your material? Has it helped it? Has it hurt it? Do you incorporate it in your material? Can you speak on that at all?
Yeah, well, this is I think I did some shows in October, and that was the first time doing any since the pandemic, and it was in Wisconsin in limited capacity, and it was fun, but it was still it was maybe a little too early to travel and be on stage. And and then when things kind of hit hard again, I definitely was like, I'll just stay home like everyone else until we know. And it's been sort of a navigation. Clubs aren't sure how many they can have in attendance, and that keeps changing. But I did some shows in March in Spokane, And it felt really good. I was just like, okay, in my brain, I was like, what if I forget how to do it? What if I forget material? I had really worked out a new hour last year, like right around February. And then that new hour didn't get to be said anymore for several months. But the thing is, since it was new, it's still new for anyone that hears it. And I've just tweaked and lost things that I don't want to do anymore. And I have added a few things pandemic wise, but that I'll probably try tonight, and we'll see how that goes. I don't think that everyone wants to hear about it over and over. It's kind of like, I don't do any politics in my act or anything like that. 'Cause like, we hear enough. I feel like it's supposed to be an escape when you see comedy, unless you're specifically going to see someone who's like a political comedian and that's what you expect. So for me, I'm just sort of like, it's more like things that I think people can relate to, just the staying home type stuff, or the wanting to get out of the house type stuff, like a few relatable things that I think are fun to talk about, but that aren't making people want to just be like, forget it, I don't ever want to hear about COVID again,
Exactly. Yeah, that's what entertainment is, It's an escape. It's it shouldn't always have to be about real life.
Yeah, I don't want to bum anybody out.
Yeah,
that's not fun. Stand up sadness, right? Like,
we kind of do the same thing here, right, Ben? I mean, we treat movies as an escape and a show as an escape. We try to steer clear of that stuff too, because like you said, Sarah, you get bombarded with this every time you open up your phone. There's some new problem in the world or something, and people screaming at each other. So it's good to have that. We just try to keep that separate,
Yeah, and I feel like I just like to do stuff that people can relate to, family stuff, relationships. I was single it's like I kind of run the gamut too. I'm like, I was single for forever and now I'm married, so I can definitely. I feel like I can tell, as long as you're telling personal stories, then I feel like they're always original, but they're also relatable, because something in there, no matter what, someone can go like, oh, I've had that thought, or I've felt that way, or whatever, or I have that person in my family, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah. And then, so before we get into the movie, was there anything else you are working on, or any projects or anything? I know you have a podcast.
I do. It's called "Are You My Podcast?" and we basically make fun of Lifetime movies. It's it's very fun, and people have realized they don't have to watch the movies just to hear us sort of rip on the absurdity of them. And then we do a reality show too called Married at First Sight, because that's also on Lifetime. But yeah, we're having a lot of fun with it. But I would just say for everyone to please keep an eye on sarahcolonna.com for tour dates that are hopefully going to be adding as the world seems to be getting back in the right direction of us being safe to gather. So hopefully we'll be able to start adding those dates in the next month.
Yeah, come to Florida, Sarah.
Oh, I would love to. I think they're looking. I'm supposed to be looking at what is it? I forget if it was Palm Beach or Tampa, but one of the.
We're in Tampa. That's us.
Right.
So.
Oh great! That's where you guys, Tampa.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh great! Well, if I'm there, I think it's called Side Splitters. I think it's in Tampa.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Yeah, we've been there.
Very
okay,
nice.
yeah. Well, I will definitely let you know. I'd love for you guys to come out to.
It's like, I will give you the wrong date, so you don't come see me.
No, I know what you're going to do. You're going to be like, "Hey, can my daughter open for you? Come on." She's not even allowed in the club.
Nah, yeah, she's she bombed way too many times. So. Man.
But yeah, thank you.
Bringing it back.
Keep an eye on that, and hopefully I'll have tour dates for everyone to join me.
Definitely. And then, speaking of escape, again, we like to talk movies on this show, and we're like to talk about it like when you get out of a movie, you're in the parking lot with your friends, and you kind of chat about the movie, and that's the kind of chat we like to have about it. And you chose 1981's Arthur, starring Dudley Moore, Liza Minnelli. Why? First of all, before we get into it a little bit, why did you choose this film?
It's truly my all-time favorite. I can watch it over and over. I will laugh every time. I try not to be the person that like quotes it while I'm watching it. If anyone around me hasn't, I do have a friend that I actually bonded with this friend of mine, Michael Rosenbaum, who I did a movie of his called Back in the Day. He was Lex Luthor on Smallville. Like he's and he is obsessed with Arthur too. And we bonded over that when I was shooting this, when I met him and we were doing this movie. And he's definitely the person that likes to quote it while you're sitting there. And I'm like, all right, I don't ever want to be you. You have to.
Oh, that's annoying. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, I get it. Yeah. I got to not do that. No, but it's just a fun, it's just so, it's got like, I love that it has some heart to it.
Yeah.
And that you sort of root for, I don't think that there's another movie. I know that they redid it. I could never watch it. Nothing against Russell Brand, but I was just like, this is not a movie that I can ever see redone. But I don't think that there's another character that can just be so you're so sympathetic with him, even though, he's driving drunk, he's driving on the curbs. I mean, we couldn't, obviously, I don't even think you could make that movie. I don't even know how they pulled that off in the
because it starts off with him getting chauffeured around in his Rolls Royce with and totally drunk and making these dumb jokes that he's like telling everybody it's funny. He picks up a prostitute the first scene. Like that's who this guy is, and that's who we're supposed to like, but somehow Dudley Moore just he makes it happen. It's he definitely starts off a little obnoxious. Wouldn't you say, Dave? Would you say he's a little obnoxious at the beginning?
I'm bought in from the beginning. I don't know if it's the cackle or what, but I'm like, I'm just laughing. It's just,
me too. I mean, like there's the scene with the prostitute when they're at the restaurant and she says, my mother died when I was 6, and he has a reaction. And then she says, my father raped me when I was 12. And he's like, oh, so you had 6 relatively good years. And you're like, oh my God. Like, it's just...
See, that's
just so funny. I mean, it's just wrong. And again, probably could not ever make this, this is things that you couldn't do anymore. Everyone would be canceled, I guess.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like that you could see the funniness in it. Like he found the funniness in it, like trying to lighten the mood. And I think that's what comedy is about. Like there are taboo subjects, but you can work your way, around there. But yeah, that line. Oh, he had six good years.
Yeah. It's he has a lot of great lines. And so does John, and John Gielgud's great, as the butler, as Hobson, and that's just, I love that relationship too. And he's just like, his butler just hates him, but also loves him. And
I
relate to that. Yeah.
I love their dynamic. It's so great. Cause you got Hobson who's so dry, but yet he, cause at first you think like, oh, he hates this kid that he has to serve him and, and all that. But no, he has love for Arthur. That's for sure.
I think it works because the tone is perfect. He's obnoxious, yes, and says many inappropriate things, but you kind of get from him that he's pathetic, in his own way. So it kind of like offsets it a little bit. It's not it's not even really coming from a position of power. It's just that he has money, but it's just to enable him to just drive around and drink and eat and stuff like that. He's not really. You don't sense any malice from him. You almost pity him in a way, which is hard to imagine for someone that's that wealthy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like I just feel like he did it so well, and he's the most endearing. I mean, there's a scene where he's driving drunk and he like drives up onto a curb and then he gets out and puts his drink like on the hood of the car and makes sure it's okay. And you're like, this is not something that we could imagine anyone else doing and laughing at it, really, right?
Yeah, definitely.
No human being could survive that amount of alcohol, could they?
No, especially not in that little body. He's a little guy too. On top of it, like he's not.
Yeah, he's itty bitty guy. And speaking of itty bitty, I love that when he sees his aunt and uncle in the restaurant when he has the prostitute, and he says she's a princess of this small island. They're something about like they recently had the whole country carpeted.
Yeah. I'm talking small. Yeah, it's so good.
He just keeps going on and on and on about this small country.
And they're just staring at him like, what is happening? It's so good. Yeah. And Liza Minnelli's obviously great in it. She's just fun. And her dad.
Morty Seinfeld.
Yeah, Morty
Yeah. Oh, right. That's right. That's who that is.
Oh yeah, I love I love him in this because he's like cries when she's not going to be with him anymore because he's not going to have the money. She says no to like $100,000.
He's like biting his hand.
He sobs. She has to console him. Yeah. There's a lot of like campiness to it too. Some of stuff that's like over the top and fun and like fighting and
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you said though, it has that heart. It's not just slapstick and everything. It does have that heart. It has a nice message to the film, which I think is great. It's not your typical early 80s movie, early 80s comedy, I wouldn't say. But yeah, Hobson, he the actor, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I never knew that he actually won Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars for this, which I didn't think, because I mean, it seems like the Oscars are more and more leaning towards, not leaning towards, but they're more accepting of comedy now, whereas it used to seem like they would just, it's a comedy, no, it cannot win an Oscar. So I was surprised that, he actually won Best Supporting Actor. So good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, definitely. Always, especially at that time, it seemed to be more drama based for those awards. But he was great. I think it was like, he asked Arthur what he's doing one day, and he says, I'll take a bath. And he was like, I'll alert the media. Just so dry about everything. And
right.
I loved it.
So great. And then
Arthur 2 on the Rocks. Have you seen that one?
I've seen it, and honestly, I forget like how I felt about it. It just didn't. It's the classic sort of, okay, it was fun, but it wasn't anything that I need to rewatch as I do with Arthur. I honestly am like, I thought about that yesterday when I was thinking about the movie for, talking with you guys today. I was like, how did I feel about Arthur 2 on the Rocks? I don't remember. So I guess that tells you enough, right? Like,
if you don't remember much, I think it's probably nothing to write home about.
No, I'm sure it had some good laughs. Dudley Moore always delivered some good laughs no matter what. But I would just always. My husband had never seen the original one when we met, so he's now seen it several times and also enjoys it as well, which was good for him because that would have been a poor.
Was it before you were married?
It was before, yeah.
Okay, so you knew, you were like, okay.
I can marry
this
you.
Movie.
Yeah, we're not going to work out.
Exactly. I mean, obviously it seems like it's a kind of a trope that we've seen in a lot of movies, like I'm going to cut you off if you don't do this certain thing. Well, is this like an actual thing where rich people have to marry other rich people, kind of like royalty? Like, is this a thing?
I know it's kind of funny when you think about it because it was like almost an arranged marriage where, and she was in for it, which made it was kind of odd. Like her character was it was Jill Eikenberry, right? Like, yeah. Her character was so strange because it was like, she's supposed to really want to marry him, but he's such a mess. So it kind of made no sense. You'd almost think that she would have been saying, I don't want any part of this either, but we have to do it. But yeah, it was like this weird arranged marriage thing. I think it was, that's when he had like that great line with her when she said, "It'll take a real woman to stop you from drinking," and he says, "It have to be a real big woman." Like, so stupid. Oh, the laughs.
Yeah.
And I love when his dad, just going back when he tells him, if you don't marry, because Dudley Moore's like, he's walking out of the office and he's like, well, there goes your $750 million. And he just quickly turns around. All right, I'll marry her.
Well, because his dad says, well, I respect your integrity. And, it's like, as an audience, you're like, wow, yeah, he does have integrity, doesn't want to do that. But yeah, when you hear that figure, it's like, ooh, would I do the same thing? That's a lot of cash.
Yeah, I feel like I'd probably go for the arranged marriage. I feel like I'd be like, whatever. I'll just, $750 million. I'll have an affair. It's fine. I'll do my best to make sure they don't find out about it.
Yeah,
definitely.
There you go.
For the nerds at home, that's $2.2 billion and change in today's dollars.
Look at that.
Oh wow! Look at that.
$750 million is now $2.2 billion. There we have it. Thank you, Dave.
That's yeah.
Yeah,
Now that what you said what that is, then yeah, I would definitely probably take the money.
Yeah.
Screw Liza Minnelli.
Yeah, she'll be fine.
I like how he meets her. He meets her in the what's the store called? You guys know. Someone knows. Bergdorf.
Goodman's. Goodman's. Why can't I say it? Anyway, it's that old department store.
Yes, that old department store. And yeah, he sees her stealing a tie, and the security guard goes after her, and Dudley Moore kind of chases down the security guard along with him, and
he's so impressed that she's stealing a tie.
Like
I know, and that's what's so funny. And he immediately is like, "Look at you! You're like," and then he wants to go out with her right away because he's like, "She was so fun at her stealing." Yeah.
It's funny too because she's there to steal one tie, and he's there buying 14 shirts, and then Hobson says like, "Get 20 or something." Like he says, get even more, and he gets like 14 sweaters, and then she steals this one little tie, and he's just he's fascinated by it.
Yeah. And I think isn't that what Hobson says at some point to her? Like he says they're going somewhere, and she says, "How should I dress?" And he's like, "Steal something casual," or something like that.
Exactly. And then he even insults her quite a bit, where he says like, we can find you at like a bowling alley, your type at a bowling alley, I think he says something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, wow, Hobson, come on, man.
Yeah,
easy there. I love that Arthur. We don't really sense any sort of entitlement from him, which is great. Like Dave was saying earlier, like he's just, you almost pity him, which
he's just like spoiled and kind of and an idiot, and nobody ever like tried to get him to do anything for himself. So he's just sort of like, well, this is how I am, and it's fun, but he's at the heart of it, he's lonely. So that's kind of where the heart of the nice part of the movie comes in, is that you see like, oh, this guy's, he just wants to be loved like everybody else because lots of money.
Exactly.
Super rich people problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of timely. Charles Grodin was actually considered for the role of Arthur, who recently just passed. I can't imagine, because he's more dry, dry humor. I picture him in Midnight Run and things.
Yeah, so funny. Yeah.
Another great one, but
yeah, I can't picture that. Obviously, had it been, it's like, you never know how you would have reacted to something had it been someone else. But it's so hard to picture anyone but Dudley Moore pulling that. Like it's like that lovable loser idiot guy who does, who's I guess not a loser because he's rich, but still kind of is. So it's hard to picture anyone else like sitting in that bathtub and drinking martinis all day and just loving his life.
I love how he says, "Bring me a pitcher of a martini," and he's like, "You really want me to face my father sober today? Like, I can't do that."
Yeah. Oh God. And then when he goes to that wrong apartment and that woman's screaming at him, and he's like, "Don't you hate Perry's wife?" Like it's the funniest. It's just.
That woman was like
insane. I know. It's one of those, that's another scene where you're like, oh, the acting at that time, the things that you could get away with. And, and she was like screaming at him with rollers in her hair and so over the top. But it's hilarious.
I love, that I guess his name is Perry. He doesn't even like stick up for her. Like he's like, him and Dudley are like in agreement about it. Like, she's going nuts over anything. And I love when he passes the cradle. He's like, "You shouldn't have seen that," and like covers it.
So good.
Kind of reminds me of the moose scene when he's he's by the moose. Don't know the line exactly, but there's a funny scene with the dead moose on the. You probably know, Sarah.
He says, "You must have really hated that moose." Yeah, staring at him.
Doesn't he say at one point like, "This must be awkward for you"?
Yeah, he says something like, "This must be awkward for you." Yeah, it's so funny. He like that scene. It's her, the girl he's supposed to marry. He's at like visiting her dad, and he's a big hunter and all stuffy, and Arthur is not.
Right. Yeah.
There. Yeah.
Well, one thing, because he's drunk pretty much the whole movie, but
Yeah.
does he drink at all on his one date with Liza Minnelli? I forget.
I think he does. Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering but it seemed like he was more sober. So to me, it kind of seemed like, he didn't need it as much because he was actually with someone he wanted to be with and was actually enjoying himself.
Like enjoying his time. Yeah. I think they kind of purposely don't show him like blasted there. So you get the idea that
right.
he's like, oh, he can be normal when he finds someone that he likes.
Yeah, definitely.
I could not stop thinking that he was a hobbit transported into New York City in 1981, which I like. It was very. I kept thinking of like Peregrine Took from the Lord of the Rings movies. It seemed a resemblance, and I'm like, that's just how I kind of watched the movie, but it made me appreciate it even more.
That's really funny. Yeah, I know. And I like that they just like kept him with his English accent living in, they didn't take any of that away. You're just like, okay, I guess he's just English and living in. I like that they didn't try to change that.
Yeah,
really it adds to it,
There's no explanation of them being English, and it's just like, whatever, it doesn't need to be explained. Like, there's no little scene of exposition where it's like, oh, we moved here because of this, this, and this, and it's just like, what do we need that for? Just
I'm not bothered with that.
Yeah.
Look at you popping out your accent there, Ben. I heard that. I heard a little bit of a English accent there.
It's actually my mother tongue, so no, it's not.
Well, I believe anything. I don't.
Me too.
I don't really have a gauge on accents. I just go, yeah, that was great because I can't do any. So.
Well, speaking of that, tangent a little. I'm sure you've never been asked this, but you were born in you were born in Germany.
I was, on the Air Force Base. So I wish I remembered anything about it, but I don't. I think we left there when I was like 2.5 or 3. So I don't really remember anything about it. So for whatever reason, it's always on like IMDb or something. And it makes me sound so much more interesting. So I'm like, cool. Yeah, that's great. People think that I had something interesting to tell, but I'm just a boring Air Force brat.
European comedian.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Telling all the way from Germany. And then there was something I was going to say right before that. I edit, so don't worry about my floundering, blundering. I don't even know.
I don't know either.
Now I just want to do an English accent this whole time. And,
that's what this movie will do to you.
Yeah.
Was Dudley Moore, was he a stand-up guy or just an actor or I
don't think he did stand up really. I think it was all, I might be wrong, but I think it was all just comedic acting. I don't recall him doing, he was just like, cast into things because he was definitely like, obviously
That'll be research for our listeners to do. Let us know. Let us know if Dudley Moore did stand up. We'd appreciate it.
And then they're going to be like, "Oh, big fan of Sarah Colonna. You didn't even know." And I'll be humbled.
Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, I just have it in my. Maybe it's just because I don't even know what I've seen Dudley Moore in besides this film. But for some reason, I just have this picture in my mind of him doing like a drunk stand-up act. It just seems so. Like I can't refer to it. It's just maybe just in my own crazy mind.
I mean, it makes sense, and if he didn't, then he should have. And we, if he was still alive today, we would just give him that advice and say, "Hey,
you should do that.
Take that on the stage, buddy." Some funny shit.
Well, it's crazy. The guy who played Hobson died just 2 years before him at the age of 96, and Dudley Moore I think was in his 50s when he died.
I think he had Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I
might have made that up.
I'm Googling right now. Dudley Moore stand up. Dudley Moore stand up. I mean, he's labeled as an actor, comedian, musician and composer. So one could say he did stand up comedy. It looks like there's some YouTube videos. So there you go.
There you go. See?
We figured it out.
You didn't even need your audience to research it. You do it on the fly.
What audience?
You did it on the fly.
That's right. That is right. So yeah, he eventually does propose very not effortlessly, but just carelessly to Sarah, right? Susan, and because she's, I forget what makes him finally just do it already. Because he goes on that date with Linda, and then he calls her saying, I can't, do this anymore. I'm supposed to be engaged. I think Hobson might have talked him into it or something.
Yeah, Hobson gets sick at some point, so you kind of see like that affects him. Like he's like, luckily they didn't. I was worried about that part, but I think that affects him to like, oh, there's more to life, this kind of thing. And that's why they added that in there. But,
yeah, definitely.
And then his grandma, of course, was like a really funny character too.
Oh, she's great. She was so sweet. And then she's like, going to put a knife in your back if you don't do what she says.
I know. And you do like that, like he ends up with the money still at the end. You're like, okay, I like this is
right. Yeah. Because I mean the message should technically should be that love triumphs over money and it shouldn't matter, but at the same time you're like, you're not going to accept it still, like she's still offering it to you, but then he says, oh, I took the money, I'm not an idiot, and
you're like, good, I don't want that, like I want Liza Minnelli and I want her character to like walk away with some money. She's gonna have to put up with a lot of nonsense for the rest of her life with this guy. So
exactly.
I love the threat to Dudley Moore that being a poor drunk is really bad. That's like his greatest fear.
I mean, it's such a good point though, because you like being a poor drunk versus a rich drunk. I mean, it's a very different life. Like what, you can live in really sad motel rooms, or you can just live in a mansion and have someone take care of you forever. So
what did Hobson say? They freeze to death in the summer or something like that? I don't know what he said.
Yes. I can't remember that line right now, but
it was like right after he got out of the race car.
Yeah. I can't remember that line.
And he smacked him there too, didn't he? He's like, take off your helmet, give me your goggles, and he slapped him in the face. It's perfect.
I love when he slaps him. I'm trying to see if I could.
Yeah, because he does it at the beginning too. He's in the bathtub, just takes his hat off, slaps him.
Yes, Sarah, you're supposed to know all these lines.
I know I'm supposed to know them all and be the annoying person that says every line.
I actually, there's actually quite a I would call it a beautiful quote. I think it's when he's having dinner. I think it's the dinner he's proposing to Susan, and he says something along the lines of, not all drinkers are poets, but some people are drinkers because they're not poets.
Right. Yes.
It's like, dang. Man, this is that's
with some nice little things in there. Nice little moments to really reel you in, and that's again why you like the guy, I guess.
Right? Yeah, it's got like we said, it's full of heart, and I didn't see the Russell Brand remake ever, and I guess that's I heard a lot that is what it was lacking, is the heart of the original and everything like that.
That's what I would think. I mean, nothing. I think he's super talented, but I just was. It would just be so hard to compare that likability factor of someone being that
definitely.
Kind of ridiculous asshole that you still end up rooting for. It's a tough thing to do. Yeah.
And not everything has to be remade, folks. No. Yes.
Alone.
That's some things, please, for the love of God, leave it alone. Right.
And another beautiful moment is when, Hobson is dying in the hospital, and he says you're a great son to him. So like you get that, like he's kind of like the father he never had, and he's the son he never had. Even though he had a father, but obviously a distant father who just wanted to carry on the family name and all that. So
and that was like that was the other thing that kind of told you. Because you like Hobson so much and he's so dry, and you're like, okay, well, if we like this guy and he loves Arthur, even though he's a complete nightmare, it's very sweet.
Yeah. Definitely. And he's the one that tells Liza Minnelli to go to the engagement party, and that's when they have another moment. Him and Liza at the horse stable, and then that's when Dudley Moore comes to his wedding, and we find out, or he tells he needs to find his wife, and he finds her and tells her that I'm in love with someone else, and that's when her father comes in and beats the shit out of him.
Right. Which was hilarious.
Yes.
I mean, who didn't love that scene?
Then he gets the knife. Is he going to stab them?
Yeah.
I love when he's like, he has the knife out of the cheese. Like, he's like he takes it right out of that cheese thing and goes nuts. And you're like, oh boy.
I think he even says, like, do you think he's going to cut some cheese, or is he?
Yeah. He's got the knife out of the cheese.
There's so many great quotes in this, and it's just timeless too. It's he's just such a likable character, one of the most likable characters I think in film history, really.
How about that collection of gifts he gives Hobson on his deathbed? He gives him a basketball, cowboy hat. Like it's coming from a good place, but like, whoa.
Yeah, but what am I supposed to do with all of this? Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
And that was another weird thing. I think in the remake, the Hobson was a woman or something.
Yes. What's her face? Helen Mirren played Hobson.
Right. Which I mean, she's obviously fantastic, but just another like weird flip of the script.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, definitely. And I think the little Garner, Ben Affleck's ex, Jennifer Garner, played the Susan character, and Greta Gerwig, I believe, played the Liza Minnelli character. So,
yeah, because like part of it, like you said, part of that like Hobson father-son thing, and the fact that Arthur's father was really not present for him was sort of part of what you loved about that relationship. So changing it to kind of a mother figure is just a little bit, it's just a different vibe, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
but if Helen Mirren wants to do something, you probably don't tell her no. So you
not so much. Do it. Yeah. She asked to come on the podcast, and I said, I guess.
You're like, I mean, I guess if you have to.
Yeah,
we're kind of busy, but I guess if you want to come on, we'll make. Yeah, you don't tell Helen Mirren no.
You're like, my daughter was booked, but I guess I'll bump her for you.
Yeah. she'll most likely just bomb. So
should we bury the Arthur remake and Arthur Part 2 along with Butt Whistle and put them into a hole?
I mean, Butt Whistle might be a great movie. I just never have seen it, so I can't vouch for it.
Yeah, just because it has a bad name, Dave, doesn't mean it's bad.
Because nobody knows what that means.
To go one more time.
Nobody knows what that means.
You had to bring it up. But this movie, stands the test of time. It's so rewatchable. So many great lines, so much heart, and it's it's beautiful. It's a beautiful film, yet hilarious. And
in his loss of Hobson, he has a new life ahead of him. Right. Like that part gets you, but then you're like, okay, but then they're going to go on it's going to go on happy anyway.
Yeah,
Hobson made sure of it. Yeah.
Great movie. And it was about to be him just having a regular, which I think the sequel I read has him having a regular job. But anyway, that we'll discard that.
What job is he qualified for? Can do anything.
I don't know.
Wasn't there? Where were they? I forget where they were in one scene where he was like, he says he says, I hate it here. And Hobson's like, of course you hate it here. People work here.
Yeah.
I think that's where they are during that scene.
Oh, yeah, when they were waiting to see his father, and there was a bunch of other, like, businessmen, like, sitting around. Yeah.
Oh, right. That's what it was. Yeah. So people work here. Of course.
And that's where you have that very small cameo from dude from Breakfast Club, the detention, the principal or teacher from Breakfast Club.
That's right.
It's like, I was like, oh, what? I forgot he was in this.
Random pop-in.
Just
he's like on the phone saying this. He says something derogatory towards Dudley Moore. It's pretty funny. He just staring at him on the phone and like saying this kid's a piece of shit, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another fun thing about like, I feel like 80s movies is like the random people that you'll go, wait, that person was in that movie for a second, you know?
Right. Well, and even when he goes to Liza Minnelli's diner, there's a guy that keeps asking for a role.
Yeah.
His role. Do you know who that was, Dave?
I want to say it's Reservoir Dogs guy, but
yes.
Okay. I don't know
what was that?
Who was it?
It was Lawrence Tierney. He's from Reservoir Dogs. He was also Elaine Bennis's father, another Seinfeld alum.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he's had, he had a revered career before this, and he's just like some like kind of extra, just asking for his role.
I want my role.
Yeah. But it's so funny. Like I mean, obviously I forgot who it was, but you don't forget that guy in the movie. So I feel like people were just like, yeah, I'll do this ridiculous role because it's fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just crazy that, he's like, sure, I'll do that. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
He must have owed a favor to the director or something. I don't know. But
True.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you, go ahead, Dave.
One last thing, I thought we might see it because we're talking about what job Dudley Moore would possibly have. Because I think Eliza Minnelli's like, I'm going to go change just before they're out of the diner. He's like, I'll man the counter. I thought we might get maybe they cut that out if it or not, but we might get him maybe frantically being a terrible waiter at the. Waiting on people at the counter, but I guess they're like, okay, we need to wrap up this movie.
Right, yeah. They're like, we might go there. Okay, forgot it. Let's just, yeah.
Oh, you wanted water? I thought you wanted a soda. I'm so sorry. I'll bring that out. I had to do my English accent one more time.
Just one more time to impress me, to really bring it home. Yeah, I liked it. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime. But any final thoughts on Arthur, Sarah, that we didn't bring up or anything?
Just everyone stop doing remakes of really great movies, and I'm sorry if the remake was good and I'm trashing it for no reason. And I apologize because I never even watched it. And I wish Hobson could have lived forever. Is my other thought.
Yep, I wish he did too.
But we needed that. I guess it's part of what they needed to happen.
You got to have that emotional moment, So, but yeah, no, really appreciate you choosing this movie. So glad you did. Where can people find you on social media and all that jazz?
On Twitter, Sarah at Sarah Colonna, Colonna, and on Instagram, Sarah Colonna 1, because someone got there first. So 1 at the end of my name. Yeah. And sarahcolonna.com for upcoming tour dates that will soon be there.
And is that Italian?
It is, yeah.
I nailed it. I knew the vowel. The vowel at the
my
end.
great uncle actually was a comedian. Jerry.
Yeah.
Colonna.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah. That's. Did you? You seem like he's a bit older. Did you have a relationship with him at all?
No, I never even met him. I just I wish I had, because he traveled with Bob Hope and I'm sure he had.
Oh wow.
A lot of really cool stories. But he had passed before I moved out here, so I never got to actually meet him. And bummer for me, but.
You can tell people, you got that,
Yeah, and just somewhere in my blood.
Yep, exactly. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, guys.
Sarah Colonna, everybody. Had a lot of fun talking with her, and hope you guys enjoyed listening to us have fun speaking with her. To check her tour dates on her website, like she said, and hopefully you can catch a show of hers sometime soon. But as always, thank you so much for listening. Please continue to support the show. iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're listening, rate and review us. Again, we'd really appreciate it. Just takes like 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Maybe not literally, but come on. Just do it, please. Come on, just do it, please. But anywho, again, follow us on Twitter at BlockbusterCast, at BlockbusterMentality is our Instagram, updates on the show, and all of that. And anywho, that is it for me. For Dave and Sarah, I'm Ben, and as always, grab some popcorn, grab some snacks. We'll catch you guys at the movies.